Hey everyone! So we're going to attempt to make a lemon seed sourdough muffins. I got this recipe from an author named Amy Duska from a website littlespoonfarm.com. I've never used it before, but I thought it'd be interesting to try something different. So I try to prepare everything I can as ahead of time so that we can not have another hour-long video. So let me go ahead and just angle my camera downwards a little. Okay. There may have been a Siri interruption there, but we'll go on. All right, so the recipe calls for us to mix the dry ingredients first. So I already measured out the flour. We have 240 grams of all-purpose flour, and to it we're going to add the salt. We're going to add 1 teaspoon, 5 grams of fine sea salt. So let's go ahead and do that. Normally I don't prep like this because that's more dishes to do, but for you guys. And then we are also, I keep pressing Siri when I try to adjust down. Okay, I'll move the bowl a little more. Okay, so we have in here 240 grams of all-purpose flour. We just added 5 grams of sea salt. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Then we're going to add half a teaspoon of baking soda. And 1.5 tablespoons of poppy seeds. So the instruction says to go ahead and whisk all that together and set aside, which makes sense. You typically do put your combine your dry ingredients into your wet ingredients. Although myself personally, I just go along and just dump it into one bowl. But okay, so that is all whisked together. So now we're gonna put that to the side, and we are gonna work on the wet ingredients. So I brought to room temperature 8 tablespoons of butter, and what we're going to do is also add the sugar to the bowl. So the recipe calls for 1 cup or 200 grams of sugar. It didn't specify which, so I'm just using organic cane sugar. And then the directions specify with an electric hand mixer to cream the butter and sugar together. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to do this for about 1 minute. Less than 1 minute, but it looks creamed together. So now we have to add 1 egg, 1 large egg. So I have that right here. do not like raw egg on me, so just one towards my hand. And we are going to add 125 grams of sourdough starter discard. So let me get my scale out. And let me go ahead and zero my scale. And I took my discard out of the fridge. And I'm going to take out 125 grams. I actually stirred it a little while ago when I did my feeding of Pillsbury. So quick updates on my starter. I have decided to just maintain one starter, Pillsbury, the OG. He is my all-purpose rye mix. I retired Kayla along with AP. And now because it's warmer, I actually found that I have to feed Pillsbury twice a day, even at my 1:5 feeding ratio, and that's okay. I think though, if I'm only gonna do my baking on the weekend, I probably will put him in the fridge, but for now, I'm doing okay. And I do use a pretty bunch of discard, so I don't think it would be too much. Interestingly enough, I did use discard a little earlier today to make some blondies. I'm not quite happy how the blondies came out. I feel they're a bit on the dry side. I think because I let it go a little too long, and then I underestimated the amount of chocolate chips I used. I definitely needed to use more chocolate chips, but you know, you learn a lesson. So it's less brownie-like, but it's more cake-like, but it's okay. We'll make it work. So I'm just gonna quickly clip this up and put this back in the fridge. I don't like to let my starter come to room temperature unless it's specific, the recipe specifies it, because then it'll expand and don't need that. So let me go ahead and stick this in my fridge. Okay. So we added the discard, and it's calling for 120 grams of milk. Perfect. And then, so interesting. I don't know why the weight is fluctuating that way. Okay, and then we are going to add 246 grams of ricotta cheese. I used to hate ricotta when I was younger, but now I like it. So, hence, we'll use the recipe with that. And then when it comes to baking, I try to use full fat items. So I try to use full fat milk. If they ask for heavy cream, actual heavy cream. Whole milk ricotta cheese, although the milk I am using is skim milk because the whole milk I had in the fridge went bad. We're at 248, that's fine. And the lemon zest, so I zested 1 large lemon earlier. And 5 grams vanilla extract. And we're gonna mix until smooth. So I don't need the scale anymore. Let's put that away. Grab a spatula in 1 second and scrape down the sides. And we actually no longer need the mixer, so let me go ahead and unplug that. Let me quickly scrape down the sides, because once we mix the dry ingredients into it, we don't want to over mix it. So whatever I can get in. You know, I noticed I say incorporated a lot. So whatever I can get mixed together, I'm going to combine. I'm going to try to use synonyms of incorporate. Okay, pretty smooth. So we're going to add, it says add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. If I had thoroughly read the recipe before, then I would have used the bigger bowl for the dry ingredients, but this works. And we're going to stir until just mixed, and according to the instructions, we will get a thick batter. So we will stop mixing once we no longer see any dry bits of anything. I actually bought poppy seeds to make poppy seed bagels for my friend. I have not had the opportunity to do that yet because that's one of those things you have to make fresh in our schedule and deliver fresh, so it's not something I can make the night before. And I haven't really found a recipe that you could prep the dough the night before, so you know, it came in handy when I found this recipe, but I do plan on doing the bagel recipe. So I don't know, the batter's a little thick, but not as thick as I thought it would be, but I'm gonna take a quick sniff. I smell the lemon for sure. And the sourdough discard shouldn't make this recipe any more sour than the lemon does, because the discard's pretty fresh. I usually recycle out within a week, not even. So I'm gonna almost stop mixing. I just see a little bit more flour. I just want to make sure we're all okay, because the last thing I hate doing, and sometimes occasionally it has happened with my banana bread, you cut into it and you're like, no, there's a little bit of flour there. By the way, Lee makes so much fun of me, not in a good way. I love him. He really is a good guy, of how chatty I am in talking with the video and how much I use my hands when I talk, which I noticed too, because I usually try to review the videos before I post to Facebook so that I don't say something that would really confuse folks. Okay, it's a moussey mixture. And then now the recipe says to let it rest for 30 minutes before baking. So I'm going to cover it, place it in the fridge for 30 minutes, And while we do that, I'm going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees and also line a 12 muffin pan with paper cups, paper wrappers, you'll see. So we will be back in half an hour. All right, so I actually got tired last night, so I left this overnight in the fridge, what the recipe did say was okay to do. So the dough is kind of stiff, which the recipe also warned would happen. But they said you could go directly from the fridge to the oven. So the oven, I preheated it, so it's sitting at 350, which is what's required from the recipe. So let's go ahead and fill these muffin tins that are lined with paper liners. I'm just going to stir around a little the dough. Okay, there we go. And since this dough is stiffer, I'm just going to take this ice cream scoop and put into each cup. And the recipe says it will make 12 muffins, so that's cool. I imagine it's going to taste a little more sour than it would have been because it did spend the night in the fridge. But we are going to also put a glaze on top of these when they cool down completely. And the glaze is made of a lot of powdered sugar, so I'm hoping that if this, because of the overnight, ended up becoming more sour than intended, that will cut some of the tartness. So we'll find out. It is about 5 in the morning, because my plan is to bring this to work. So I think I will be okay with the timing. But if I am not, I do have blondies ready to go for work as well. So, which I mentioned yesterday, I'm not completely happy about it because they're more cake-like than gooey, like as I prefer them, and I think a lot of folks prefer. But you live and you learn, and you know, I hope no one eats it if they don't want to eat it. But at the same time, I did try it, and I wouldn't bring it to work if I thought it was terrible. So hopefully folks like it, and then the next time I'll have the opportunity to improve. So I don't think I'm going to use every little bit of the batter, but I'm trying to as evenly as I can. Let me just grab a spoon. Just make these a little more even. I'm such a night owl, so it is rare that I fall asleep before midnight. I actually did go to sleep before midnight last night, which is nice. But yeah, always been that way since I was a kid. In college, it was crazy, so I would take afternoon classes because I would be up all night. And we used to play this video game called StarCraft. I would really suck at it nowadays. But yeah, You know, when you're young, you think you're invincible. You also can stay up all night. If I were to try this now that I am 40, although I will say, even when I was in my 30s, I couldn't do it anymore. If I try to stay up all night, just not happening. I need at least 4 hours of sleep to function, and that's, you know, at minimum, my ideal is at least 7 hours, but there are a lot of benefits to sleeping. So we don't have really any batter left over. We're just gonna grab a paper towel and take this part off. This part that slipped off. All right. So we have our muffin tins filled. So the recipe says we're gonna put it in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. So what I'm gonna do is I set a timer for 20 minutes. I'm gonna pop this in the oven and we will go from there. Okay, so I ended up needing to do 25 minutes. A toothpick inserted in the middle comes out clean, so you know that your muffins are good to go. So let me wash my hands. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the muffins from the muffin tin to let it completely cool. While the muffins are cooling, let's go ahead and make the glaze that's gonna go on top of them. So, okay. You know what? I'm gonna let it settle for 5 minutes in the pan because it's not easy to take off. I will come back while I do that and it cools. I'll set it up on the cooling rack to cool and I will take out the ingredients for the glaze. So I'll be back. Okay, so I got the muffins on the cooking rack, cooling rack. So what we need for the lemon glaze is 1 cup of powdered sugar, which I measured out already. Then we are going to need 30 grams of lemon juice. So I'm going to pour from here. This was from the lemon I zested yesterday. Okay. And then we needed 1 tablespoon of melted butter. Now, I kid you not, the instructions say it will take a minute of stirring for the butter to incorporate. So let's go ahead and stir this all together. I have my baby whisk here. Okay, everything seems pretty combined and mixed in. The butter looks good. Okay. Why not? That's really good. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just put a plastic cover over this and I'm letting this cool. I'm gonna do about an hour. So I'll come back and we will glaze and wrap this video up. Okay, so I was doing dishes and everything. So it's been a little over an hour. The muffins are nice and cool. So with our prepared glaze, let's just go ahead. I also transferred the muffins from my cooling rack to my cutting board because if the glaze is gonna drip, I'd rather be cleaning my cutting board than my cooling rack. So you could also dunk the top into the glaze, but I don't know. I feel like that's gonna be too much glaze. So let's quickly finish doing this, and then I am definitely think I want to try one on camera with everyone. Since it's a new recipe, I do like to taste test before I feed it out to people. That's how I know I wasn't happy with my blondies, but if they were not edible, they would not be seeing the light of day outside my house. Lee likes my fails, so. Oh, these are looking so good. And then after I glaze, I'm gonna get ready for work, so then the glaze should harden a little and it will make packing the muffins a little easier. Wow, that looks amazing. I think I'm gonna save this glaze because I think I'm gonna redo this recipe tomorrow to share with my neighbors and my friends. So why let the glaze go to waste? Okay. So that's done. And I do want to put a little bit more on some of these. Why not? Glazing is such an interesting activity for me. Okay. I just washed the dishes too. All right, so let's try one. I don't know which one to try. I'm trying not to try. Okay. Let's go with this one. Okay. And let me move the camera. I do not want to eat on top of other people's food. Okay. As the kids say, this slaps. It's good. I would definitely make this recipe again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one.